Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
Well, while Tony Ryan's heritage might suggest that he would pursue a career as a doctor, he initially favoured the pursuit of an engineering profession. However, inspired by the idea of making a difference in healthcare, Tony has built two successful medical-related businesses, the latest of which, Duneolas, has just received financial backing from GPs. Tony joins us now to tell us about the growth potential of his startup. Tony, we'll be discussing your electronic patient record and practice management system for GPs, but first, tell us about your own background.
Good morning, Carl. Delighted to be here. So, Carl, I don't come from the standard profile within healthcare. And my own background was in engineering. I did the engineering degree, and then I actually moved on and did a business master's in Smurfit before working as a derivatives trader for a number of years in the finance sector. So certainly not the standard profile of someone working within healthcare. Having said that, I do come from a medical family. My father was a doctor. My father's father was a doctor.
Now, it's not your first foray into the medical space, though. So talk to us about the scale which you achieved with MedVault.
Yeah, so I originally set up MedVault with a view of trying to deliver sort of higher quality analytics and reporting to the GP practices. I felt that sort of legacy systems weren't catering to GPs' needs in these areas. And that, in talking to GPs when I initially set up the company, I think I co-called maybe 50 to 60 GPs and did interviews with them, and reporting and analytics was the key element that they felt was lacking within the existing systems. So we developed MedVault from the ground up to work on top of the practice's existing data, so everything from the reimbursement data to the internal practice data. And we got really great traction with that. We grew the company to probably, at its peak, it was close to 400 GP practices, which would be about 35% of the Irish market. So we got really good traction there.
And how did you achieve that traction? I would imagine it's very, very difficult to get appointments with them, to sell them B2B related systems.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult market to penetrate. Doctor's time is very valuable, very difficult to get to. So we sort of doubled down on the actual product, make the product as attractive as possible, make it as easy as possible for the GPs to actually refer other GPs. And that's where we got most of the growth and traction, was actually through our customers' referrals.
So how did you identify the need then for the solution which Duneolas provides?
Yeah, I suppose in working with the GPs, we would talk to a lot of them about, how we could expand our services and help them in other ways. We had a large number of our customer base essentially asking for us to develop a practice management system to essentially replace the legacy systems. Most of the legacy systems have been on the market 30 to 20 plus years. From our perspective, a lot of them haven't changed in that time significantly. So, from an interface perspective and functionality perspective, some of them are more akin to something that you would see on Windows 98 or 95 than a more modern sort of software solution that GPs are looking for. So, it really was the customers that brought us to the attention that they really wanted a new, more modern electronic health record system.
And comparisons have been made between Duneolas and a solution which is provided by Clanwilliam Health. But how do you think Duneolas differentiates itself from this competitor?
Yeah, I suppose the way we would differentiate ourselves from the legacy systems on the market, there'd be three elements really on the product. So on the product side of things, first one would really be the foundational level, be the infrastructure. We're taking a cloud-first approach. The legacy systems are built on pretty old infrastructure. It's reliant on the GPs and their servers internally within the practice. GP practices don't want to manage hardware and have to purchase new hardware and take care of that on a long-term basis. Cloud-based solution offers lots of benefits to the GPs from scalability and security side of things also. Point two, where we differentiate on, would be really on design. We spent a lot of effort on the design side of things. Like I touched upon, the interface of the existing legacy systems is pretty dated. We wanted to create something that was really pleasant for the doctors to use on a daily basis. A lot of the staff within these practices are, it's between 9 and 12 hours a day that they're using the software. They want to use something that's actually enjoyable to interface with. So that's certainly one element that we've put a lot of effort into, is on a much more streamlined, better quality design. And then we looked at the workflows internally within the practice. So we spent a huge amount of time at interviews, not only with the clinicians, but also with nurses, with reception staff, administrative staff, practice managers, to identify all the key workflows within the practices and look at ways in which it could be optimized within the practice management system. So we've tried to streamline the workflows significantly, essentially trying to make it easier for the practices to get the most out of their most vital resource, which is their staff. And then the third core element that we would point to, again, would be on the analytics sort of side of things, where we would say that we're injecting intelligence into the electronic health record. We would sort of say that Duneolas is an intelligent EHR or IEHR. This is where we've tried to use, some machine learning tools, some AI in some cases. We aren't shoehorning LLMs into areas where they aren't necessarily suitable, which we do see in this sort of hype cycle. We're using the right tools for the right problem.
And Tony, how is Duneolas leveraging AI and machine learning?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways in which we're trying to leverage AI. We see huge growth in AI scribes being used within general practice and across healthcare in general. So these are, in some cases, ambient listening tools. So if you think of your consultation with the GP, we do see it sort of changing where you will attend the GP. The GP will start a recording of your interaction with the GP. This will enable the GP to focus on you, the patient, and that interaction rather than thinking about their notes. So, lots of people have experienced, they go in and talk to the GP, and half of the time they're spending, typing at their computer. These sort of ambient listening tools give the doctor a lot more focus on you. It does mean that they have to change a little bit in the way that they ask you the question, so it gets picked up by the tool. But it does deliver like a much better outcome as far as like the quality of the notes that are being taken and gives the doctor greater focus on the patient. So that's one key area that we're sort of seeing AI being leveraged within general practice.
And Tony, what level of traction have you received with the business to date, and what potential exists within the Irish market for Duneolas?
Yeah, so we've got significant traction to date. We've probably got over 200 practices have expressed interest already, and this is pre-launch. From an investment perspective, we had a lot of interest from practices as well, trying to invest in the company. So a significant cohort of our actual, cap table are working GPs or practice managers or receptionists, etc. We've seen sort of a lot of appetite in this market for this type of solution. We certainly have a good problem in how we have to cater to deploying this waiting list as quickly as possible as soon as we launch, which is sort of like a good problem to have at this stage.
Just in relation to the seed investment round that you recently completed, you raised 1.4 million euros through that, and the majority of these angel investors, as you say, are practicing GPs. How did you access them to get this funding?
Yeah, I suppose we had really good relationships with a large number of GP practices already from working through MedVault. So we had, talked to a huge number of those GPs. A lot of those GPs were the ones that had almost brought the idea to us in saying that they wanted this. So they were very happy to invest as part of that cohort. We did sort of open it up to GP practices at large. So we tried to do a lot of work and reach out to a lot of practices, see if they'd be interested in investing in a new practice management system. And we got a lot of traction in that way. We did not initially expect that the GPs would probably fund all of this round, that we might have to go to VC or other investors. But to be honest, it was actually oversubscribed. So there was oversubscribed round from just the GP practices themselves. So there definitely seemed to be a lot of pent-up demand in that sort of sector.
And how do you plan to use that 1.4 million euro to grow the business, and what will you be investing it in?
Yeah, I suppose we are investing it primarily in the development of the core product. So a lot of it is going into high-quality engineers. So we've tried to build out a real high-quality engineering team internally in Duneolas, not just for the initial launch of the product, but we want to see it as an evolving product over time. What we deliver on day one, we think will be far superior to what the legacy systems have delivered. But we do want to further differentiate ourselves over time and continue to develop that product. So, the vast majority of our funds will be invested in the engineering talent internally. We've already sort of built out I think a team of about 13 to 14 engineers at this time. And we've been really, really happy with actually the quality of engineers that we've been able to attract. Being a sort of remote first business has helped us attract a lot of high quality engineers who would have been, in some cases, at some of the top tier tech firms that would have been forced back to the office. It wouldn't have suited their needs, and we were able to sort of attract them by offering them a sort of remote role.
Talk to us about the international potential for Duneolas.
Yeah, I suppose we do see significant international potential. So the same way that the market has played out within Ireland, where essentially sort of private equity firms have come into general practice in a lot of cases. They've rolled up a lot of existing solutions. They've driven that to the bottom line as much as possible. So not investing a huge amount in the product, raising prices significantly, and what would I say? They have generally, in a lot of cases, a dominant position within those markets. But we do see that the GP practices are looking for a much more modern solution because these entities haven't really invested in the product over a significant period of time. We're talking 10 to 20 years. And this has sort of created a good opportunity for us, not just within the Irish market, but other similar markets. So we've identified opportunities within the US where there's been similar issues. Same as well within the Australian market and also within some of the European markets as well. But probably the top two in our list would be sort of the Australian and US markets as far as expansion. We do see opportunities as well, not just within general practice, but maybe to look to essentially vertically integrate over time to look at secondary care, but like the likes of Epic have done over time as well. So we do see that as a significant growth opportunity for us longer term. But at the moment, laser focused on general practice.
And Tony, while your primary degree is in engineering from the University of Galway, you also completed a master's with the UCD Michael Smurfit School of Business. Talk to us specifically about the Michael Smurfit School of Business and how they prepared you for these businesses.
Yeah, I suppose that was a really tremendous opportunity, to be honest. Really, really enjoyed doing that degree at Smurfit. They've such high quality staff there, so they give you a really strong foundation in business. So everything from marketing the business to thinking about the financial elements behind the business. I obviously sort of was more attracted to the corporate finance side of that module, which sort of brought me into the finance arena out of Smurfit. So I think it gave me a really good basis in understanding the fundamentals of business.
And Tony, are you building this business to keep it or to sell it?
Yeah, I would look at this very much long term, Carl. So this is something that I want to be involved in on very much a long term basis. Like I didn't touch on it in this interview, but very passionate about preventive healthcare. Really, really passionate about that from a personal perspective. So that's one of the reasons, there's two reasons that really attracted me back into the healthcare arena from finance. One was I felt finance was too zero sum. You weren't really having significant impact in that market. So I was attracted back into healthcare for that. But the other one was really from a personal perspective. So from I don't know, my earliest memories are within healthcare, unfortunately. And not for me personally, but both my parents had cancer whenever I was 3 to 4. In both cases, it was caught early. They were both given very low percentage chance of survival, but because it was caught early, they actually both survived. I got good 20 years out of my parents, which was fantastic. They were just wonderful. But unfortunately, later on, I lost both my mother and my father, where essentially both of the cancers returned in some shape or form. And it was caught much later. So I'd be very passionate about the preventive healthcare side of things. I think there's huge scope, especially within general practice, to look at this. So the better, leveraging of technology in general practice to look at the preventative side of things. So early intervention and prevention is really my passion. And I don't see this as being something that I will sell. I think this will be something that I'll be working on pretty much until I'm dead, Carl, I think.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Tony Ryan from Duneolas. And we wish Tony every success with the business when it launches in October.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.